children. This is one of the very common causes of compartment syndrome in children. Any fracture or dislocation around the elbow, see the brachial vessels, these are lying just in front of the elbow. So etiology of compartment syndrome, direct blow, crush injury, and very important thing about burns, snake bites, fractures, hematoma, and prolonged pressure by surgical positioning. If a patient is operated in a lateral position for quite a long time, that will also might lead to a compartment syndrome. So pathophysiology is increased venous pressure, which decreases arteriovenous gradient. Which are the compartments most commonly affected? Forearm and leg. Now what is the normal tissue pressure? It is basically, normal means it is 0 to 10 millimeter. If it exceeds 10 millimeter of tissue pressure, it can tolerate, body can tolerate maximum up to 30 millimeter of tissue pressure. After that, the ischemia shades off. If we tightly apply plaster, so casting increases tissue pressure 3 to 7 times. Positioning in gynecology, lithotomy position for quite a long time, that might lead to a compartment syndrome. These things generally we forget, we do not keep in our mind. How can we diagnose? Number one is history. Second is there are 6 P's that will come as a clinical examination, and if you can directly measure the compartment pressure. So if it is above 30 millimeter of mercury, then you can say that definitely compartment syndrome has set in. The clinical diagnosis is most important. The 6 P's we must always remember while performing emergency duties, that if we get a compromised limb, let us find what are the 6 P's. Number one is pressure. This is a very early finding. The patient will say that there is some heaviness and tightness in my leg. Second is pain, I am coming to it. Paresthesia, it is very early sign. Paralysis is very late finding. More than 8 hours compression will lead to paralysis. And pallor or pulselessness, these are very rare in compartment syndrome. And these indicate direct injury to the vessels. So pain part of compartment syndrome is very important. It is classically out of proportion to the injury. Sometimes you do not find any radiological evidence, but the pain is out of proportion. Think in your mind that there might be a compartment syndrome in the behind. And this pain is exaggerated by slight passive stretching or pressure. And how do you measure compartment pressure? Commonest technique is Whiteside's technique. This is the technique. Directly there is a machine. You put the needle into the tissue and the pressure is automatically displayed. And there is a Stryker company's machine, stick system. This is a very handy instrument, and I feel personally that in emergencies which deal in accidents and emergency patients, this instrument must be there, so that at least medically we can be safe, that immediately we can diagnose a compartment syndrome and can save the life and limb. And this critical pressure, what is the critical pressure, tissue pressure? If it is more than 30, this is definitely critical. We can say that it has set in, we have to intervene by fasciotomy. So treatment is, it is not elevation. You have to lower down the limb to the heart level so that tissue perforation can take place, whatever exists there. Remove the cast and split all the dressings up to the skin, and fasciotomy is the answer if intervened at the right time. So give a final thought to a compartment syndrome, that after, always check neurovascular status after moving patients, manipulating injured limb, or by reduction or by cast application. Always check pulse distally. Otherwise we might land up in ischemic contraction. Next important situations we meet is dislocations. What are dislocations? The displacement of bones at the joint level. This is a finger dislocation. This is very common in the sports injury. Dislocation of knee. Anterior dislocations are 31% commonest, and whatever the dislocation, always check for the distal pulse. This is most important, and check for the common peroneal nerve sensations and whether there is any foot drop or not. So pulse and see for the nerve injury. In dislocation, popliteal artery injury is very common and peroneal nerve injury is 20 to 40%. Second commonest dislocation is elbow dislocation. Suppose we get a patient in emergency like this, the very attitude of the limb, it is adducted and internally rotated, and the excruciating pain at the hip will definitely point towards dislocation of hip. Get an X-ray, this is a posterior dislocation. If you get an attitude of the limb like this is not adducted, but in a position of slight limb lengthening. Suppose the length of the limb is slightly, more looks like it is lengthened than the opposite part. Always think about the anterior dislocation. So these are the two attitude of the anterior and posterior dislocation of hip. Dislocation of shoulder, this is the commonest dislocation, and 95% is the anterior dislocation. And always look at the both the shoulders. You can clearly identify that there is a sort of vacuum phenomenon beneath the acromion end of the clavicle. Now, this is another injury we just do not know how to manage. Acute spinal cord injuries. Whenever the patients come, most of the patients are malhandled. They remain as devastating consequences of traumatic injuries around the globe. And either they cause permanent or profound disabilities and lead to changes in lifestyle, starting from employment to marriage status. Motor vehicle incidents, accidents, they cause maximum number of spinal injuries. And do not ignore sports injuries. Which part of cervical spine is injured most? Cervical. Why? Because there is maximum range of movement in the cervical region, so more chance to get injured or dislocated. There is diminished surrounding muscular protection, smaller vertebrae, easy to dislocate, and the ligament strength is much less. And cervical 2 region is the commonest injury. You can see that there is a compression of the cervical cord. Investigation. So commonest investigation is X-ray, but we do not know when to go for the X-ray, immediately or after the patient is stabilized. When? What are the criteria? So we can send the spinal cord patients for the X-ray. In US, the protocol is now that before going for X-ray, straightforward in emergency, there is a multi-directional CT scan machine, and without moving the neck, the patient is put on the multi-directional CT scan machine. This is not possible in our setup. So why cervical spine injury is of concern? Because above the level of C3, there is always chance of respiratory paralysis and the patient might die. So we must take cognizance of this factor. And there is Nexus criteria, National Emergency X-ray Radiograph Utilization Study. If you have this criteria in your mind, the life becomes very simple. What are those? If there is no posterior midline tenderness in cervical spine, no evidence of intoxication, a normal level of alertness, no focal neurodeficit like the limbs are okay, these are moving, and there is no painful distracting injuries, do not jump forward towards X-ray immediately. And if you find that the patient is, there is neurodeficit or these criteria are not fulfilled, immediately go for X-ray. So how do you approach a spinal injury? First thing is emergency department immobilization. That is most important. Cervical spine clearance, that means steroids. Imaging modalities I have just told, and treatment of spinal cord. Now, mainstay in the emergency department is pre-hospital immobilization and use of steroids. Immobilization prevents movement of spine and secondary spinal cord damage. There is a complete dislocation you can see. Now, use of steroid. This is another gray area, when and how to use. high dose of methylprednisolone acetate steroid therapy is the only pharmacological therapy that is available for acute spinal cord injury, and it has to be admitted within 8 hours of injury, otherwise there is no role of it. And additional benefit can be extended from 24 to 48 hours. So dose is 30 mg per kg IV stat as a bolus dose for 15 minutes, and then for rest 24 hours 5.4 mg per kg per hour. And there is a warning from American Association of Neurological Surgeons that this methylprednisolone therapy is a treatment option whether